Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is Monica Hernandez from the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Myself and my colleague Renee Garcia will be staffing the webinar on the back end. So you can type us any messages via the chat. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Lucas Frerichs, Davis City Council member and chair of the SACOG board.
Hey there, good morning everyone. Well, I just want to welcome everyone to this webinar this morning. Apologies for the delay in getting started. I was actually having some difficulties getting logged in on my desktop, so I'm actually participating via my phone. So just want to start off by thanking all our partners this morning, the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, the Sacramento Metro Chamber, and Valley Vision. We've been working with these partners to realize a local prosperity plan after the economic assessment we commissioned from the Brookings Institute. And all of our communities, I think folks are really aware right now that all of our communities are facing challenges in the wake of COVID-19. Between the stay-at-home orders, there are many setbacks for our communities and our economy. And among the many hardships is keeping public transit operating and addressing the immediate loss of revenues the agencies are facing. I myself sit on the YOLO bus board and Capital Corridor, and so I'm acutely aware of the decreased ridership and all the challenges that's presenting us. So on today's call, you're going to hear from a variety of regional experts on what the region is facing and what changes public transit agencies are making to continue to provide services while working to preserve public health. And then as a reminder, we will have Q&A at the end of this call, so please type your questions into the chat function and send in your questions and include the speaker you wish to ask the question of. So our first speaker, Amanda Blackwood, is going to share a snapshot of how the region's economy is being affected and what tools are available for businesses. And I'll turn it over now to Metro Chamber CEO Amanda Blackwood. Thanks for joining us, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank you all for bearing with technology. Apologize in advance if we get a little choppy. So how are we affected? I think let's take a quick step back and look at all of the amazing data and research that we did in partnership with Brookings. And they told us about 1.5 years ago that the Sacramento region came back from the recession in 2008, 2009 more slowly because we have an economy that is government, healthcare, professional services, and retail. And we were really lacking in that exportable industry, advanced industry clusters in our region. So over the last year, we've had a lot of conversation about the impacts of that and how that creates generational wealth gaps, how our wealth gap is only increasing, how we have a massive need for digital skills, and that there are a lot of infrastructure needs in regards to change that and make us more resilient in the future, being mindful of an oncoming next recession. At the time we were having that conversation, I don't think any of us imagined that the recession would be this. That this would be the vehicle. I think we talked about economic cycles and knowing that we needed to prepare for a more resilient future. But we now have this really critical moment that all of those things are still true. And all of those are available to us as we navigate triage, position for recovery. That really leaning into your exportable sectors, which support that service professional service economy, really leaning into advanced mobility, really leaning into bioscience and the infrastructure that's needed to be able to do that. Really embracing what might it look like if our region was the 5G broadband capital of the country. What would it look like if our workforce truly ubiquitously had that digital skill set to be able to move into these advanced economies? So, we've seen all of those things were true. We are now, in a dip, and we are experiencing a massive loss in retail, professional services, and those, those kind of low-wage jobs that keep Sacramento afloat. And so you start to ask the questions: well, what do we do to serve them, and what do we do to position for the future? So some resources that are absolutely available now. From the Metro Chamber side, I would direct anyone to the Rapid Response Hub. You can get to that by either metrochamber.org, click the link, or you can go directly rapidresponse.metrochamber.org. It has been a very collaborative effort with all of our 22 cities, all of our jurisdictions, our other partners, GSAC, Valley Vision, SACOG, all of the other chambers to try to populate a one-stop shop, web-based place where employer or employee, no matter what sector they're in, has the resources available to them as quickly as possible. Through there, what's on folks' minds is SBA EDL program, how do I apply? Explain to me the PPP program as a result of the CARES Act. Where do I go? What lenders are supplying those products? New lenders are coming on board every day to meet the demand. So that's really a one-stop shop. I would encourage anybody to go to that hub. And as well, if you have any resources you feel need to be there, shoot them our way, and we will make sure that they get uploaded. The other major resource that we are very excited to announce, as of yesterday, we went full-scale live, is a partnership between the Metro Chamber and the Asian Chamber. It's a hotline. So the website's great and people can go to it, but we're finding folks are freaked out and they're struggling and they don't know how to navigate, particularly our more diverse community, our aging corridor community. They may or may not have ever even interfaced with a bank. So to say, go and fill out these loan applications is something that's a really, really foreign concept, or maybe doesn't feel comfortable. So we definitely discovered that we wanted some live bodies to be able to answer those questions. And that is live today. You can get through that through the hub, or you can call directly. It's toll free, 1-833-391-1919. And anybody that calls that, member or not, we just want our small business and mid-sized business community to have that support. You can ask questions in English, in Spanish, in Vietnamese, in Mandarin, with special agents trained specifically on access to capital and this whole other world of HR, EDD, how does that work? Don't know what that is. So know that those are some resources that are available to you. And then finally, I will just share how incredibly important public transit is to our workforce, particularly our government folks who are still working, our healthcare folks who are still working. That's the biggest chunk. So, anything that we can do to continue to support this extremely valuable infrastructure now, so that when we get to a place of recovery, ridership is up, we are having folks utilize that resource. A huge part of this recovery will also just be consumer sentiment and how we're emotionally feeling about gathering and utilizing all the infrastructure that we did before. So the most that we can do now to position us for the future, to continue to support this very valuable infrastructure, to continue to encourage ridership, to perhaps make investments, financial investments, if we do, in letting that be subsidized in a way. Just to touch on the program, I think with SacRT and our youth that was launched in October of last year, $1 million of free passes just for youth to be able to use that. We saw in the first month, ridership increased by 42%. 5 months down the line, youth ridership increased by 127%. So being able to make that accessible to our workforce, they use it, and we really want to continue to socialize. Public transit is extremely important. Be safe, use good judgment, but when we get through this, it is extremely valuable, and we want to encourage folks to continue to participate.
Great. Thanks so much, Amanda. Really appreciate that. So yeah, happy to shift now to Mike Dour, who is the City of Roseville's Alternative Transportation Manager and Chair of SACOG's Transit Coordinating Committee. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm here to discuss how the area's suburban and rural transit agencies are responding to the COVID-19 crisis. There are 9 of us in the SACOG area, and we provide a wide range of services. Those include commute bus services, primarily to downtown Sacramento, inner-city rural transit, local community transit, and paratransit Dour ride services, which are primarily directed to seniors and persons with disabilities, 2 of the most COVID vulnerable populations. All of our transit agencies are experiencing significant ridership declines these past 3 weeks, somewhere between 60 and 90%, depending upon the area and the type of service that's being affected. But we all remain open to provide the essential trips that our customers need. And we all share a key imperative that unites our agencies, and that is our commitment to employee, driver, and customer safety. All nine of the agencies have taken measures to protect customer and driver safety. For Roseville, those include drivers are wearing face coverings. We're doing daily disinfection of buses with additional disinfection at driver shift changes and periodically throughout the day. We're now doing rear door boarding for our local buses, unless the front door ramp is needed for people with mobility issues. And what this does is increase physical distancing between the driver and the customers. To accomplish this, we've had to eliminate our local fare collection. We've also eliminated fare collection on our Paratransit dial-a-ride service. And that has the benefit of reducing the interaction between the driver and the customer, but also for those customers that may be feeling some financial impact from the crisis, it will benefit them as well. We in Roseville are also allowing no more than one passenger at a time on our dial-a-ride buses, unless that passenger comes with an attendant that they know, since they're a more vulnerable population, and we're disinfecting the paratransit buses between customers. For commuter services, we've temporarily suspended 40% of our routes. And this is the area where we've been hardest hit. We're over 90% ridership is down. But we're retaining 60% of our routes so that those that do need to go into the office, it will facilitate onboard physical distancing between them and the drivers and other customers. We and most other, I believe all transit agencies have closed our public counters, and we're doing commuter pass sales primarily online through the regional Connect Transit card, which is a great resource at this time. Our customer service center continues to take calls for traveler information and paratransit dial-a-ride reservations. And I would say that all of the suburban and rural transit agencies have implemented similar changes to those. You know, they might be slightly different, but they're all along those same lines. I wanted to point out that we're also serving our communities in new and unique ways during this crisis. An example, YOLO Bus is transporting boxes of food to about 115 people who were previously homeless, but they've now been temporarily relocated to motels in Woodland, Davis, and West Sacramento. Unitrans has also been paying their staff to assemble face masks for the UC Davis Medical Center. And in Roseville, we've set up our Roseville Cares website, which allows nonprofits who are offering a service to connect with those in need. So as many of you may know, the federal government passed the CARES Act last week, which provides much needed immediate relief for transit, mitigating the worst near-term impacts of COVID. But we expect to lose actually more revenue than what the CARES Act will bring into the transit agencies. And from our past experience, ridership and revenues will return slowly, in part because California transit agencies rely heavily on sales tax funding for their core non-fare-based revenue. So saving our robust network of transit systems will be crucial to helping our economy get back on track, as Amanda mentioned, when life returns to normal. And it's a challenge that I know the Sacramento area transit agencies are ready to meet head on, and we trust that we'll have continued support from decision makers at every level. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tiffani Fink from Paratransit, who has a lot more to offer on this crisis, and especially how it affects the agencies servicing those vulnerable populations.
Yeah, and actually, thanks so much, Mike, for that. One quick apologies, folks. We actually we're having just a little of a shift in our speakers lineup. So actually, Henry Lee, SacRT General Manager, is going to go first, and then Tiffani is going to round us out. So thanks for that, though. Henry.
Hey, good morning, Lucas, James, Monica, everybody. I want to update everyone. The stuff you guys just talked about, what SacRT is doing, and first, our number one priority is the safety and the well-being of our customers and our employees. And from the safety perspective, we are doing almost everything like other transit agencies are doing, sanitizing, fogging our buses, light rail trains and facility every day, and cleaning and sanitizing all other touching points, and providing employees with sanitizer, wipes, gloves, masks, and safety glasses, and those type of normal stuff, everybody's doing. In the meantime, we are doing more. We implement real door boarding. We installed a protective, barrier, physical barrier on each bus by the driver's seat, and we add a detachable chain barrier 6 feet away from the driver's seat, and we require riders with symptoms to wear masks, and with many additional safety measures we implement. We have not had a confirmed case of COVID-19 among our over 1,200 employees, and we are very happy with that. We would like to keep that. From the ridership perspective, our ridership, reduced, so level off about over 70%. It's less than 30% of ridership right now. But our micro transit ridership is doing great, and we only see about 15% ridership down from the micro transit perspective, because majority of the riders are seniors and disabled people with very little transportation means or choices. On March 23rd, we made a decision to temporarily reduce our service to a Sunday plus schedule because of anticipated drivers shortage. Although we encourage all employees over the age 65 to voluntarily stay home, very few of them caught out, and many felt compelled to come to work to provide essential lifeline, service for the community. So we are constantly adding more frequencies and early start time to highly utilize the bus routes, and in the coming Monday, we're going to add more frequencies on the on 5 major routes. And after that, we're going to continue to monitor the ridership, and we may add more routes down the road. For the Causeway Connection project, the partners decide to delay the launch time to May 5th, and we're ready to make that happen on May 5th. For the Causeway Connection. We are actively working with Paratransit Inc. to transition SACRT's Go ADA Paratransit service on Sunday, June 28th. From employee perspective, we implement telecommuting solutions, and including online training, and purchase additional computers and equipment so all admin staff can effectively do their job remotely. As a result, the business efficiency and productivity has been great. Actually, we feel we're busier than before. And because every day we have so many conference calls, everybody check in to say what they're doing. And we are actually make the business more robust. In the meantime, we're constantly communicate to our frontline employees and make sure they get all the support they need, especially there are so many federal and state regulations, new regulations, and how to deal with the FMLA, get the 80 hours paid time leave, those type of stuff. We also offered employees up to 7 days advanced leave time if they do not have any accruals. And the overall the spirit of the employees is very high, and only less than 12%, less than 12% of employees have called out because of the COVID-19 related, reasons. Financially, like you guys are, doing, our fare revenue and sales tax revenue, we expect they're going to have a huge dip. And even though we still collect some, fare revenue because we did rail boarding, but we find a way to continue to collect fare revenues because our rating agencies and the banks really focus on this. We expect we're going to lose over $100 million revenue from the fare box loss and from the sales tax loss by the end of this year. The federal money will be is a huge support, but we will make sure we will try to find additional ways to make up the differences. And finally, we spend lots of effort on the social service and the community support. And we're doing, deliver the food from the local farmers market to residents. And we'll work with City of Sacramento on homeless situation. And we'll work with governor's office to put 10 buses with Wi-Fi capabilities to support governors' telehealth, telework, and other programs. And and we got lots of other requests on social service, and we'll help them on lots of those type of requests. That's very much there's some major stuff we're doing. Love to talk to you guys. On if you have any questions.
Lucas, you're muted.
Oh, my apologies. Thanks so much, Henry, for that. Really appreciate that. And we're just going to shift over to our last panelist this morning to round us out with Tiffani Fink, CEO of Paratransit. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. So as everyone mentioned, obviously the COVID incident has really made us look at how we operate. Safety and security for our staff and passengers is at the forefront of what we do. As with everyone, there's special attention paid to high-risk populations, and the nature of the services we provide is that the service we provide is overwhelmingly to those people who fit in the highest risk categories, people who are elderly, people who are seeking medical treatment for other underlying conditions that really impact their life. And so we've really taken seriously the need to step up cleaning and safety measures. The other thing we have is that with any ADA service or dial-a-ride type service, we have to interact with the passenger for their safety, which makes it a little bit different for our operators because we actually have to secure their devices and other things. So we've really worked to instill best practices and other places. We're limiting the number of people on a vehicle, limiting the number of passengers our drivers are exposed to each day, both for the safety of the driver, but also for the safety of the passengers. With that, service is down about 70%. Oddly enough, the hours of coverage haven't really changed, just the number of people traveling during those hours. So we're still seeing quite a wide span of service. So what we've chosen to do is take that extra capacity and start to work with the community. So the largest piece that we have done is partner with the Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services, and we have taken over their senior food delivery service. And so with seniors who've gone through their process and been identified, We started this week dropping off what will be 1,750 boxes to seniors once a month to get them food. In addition, we've partnered with the city of Sacramento and 5 local restaurants: Alora, Cannon, Camden, Mulvaney's, and Benchoyaki. Every week they're preparing 725 meal kits. It's about 3,000 meals. And so we're delivering those meal kits to 11 SHRA low-income senior housing complexes. And we will be starting the 20th, ramping up food delivery with Elk Grove Food Bank to seniors who are in those apartment complexes in Elk Grove who are not served by the Sacramento Food Bank, to ensure that everyone has food access, as that has been noted as one of the most pressing concerns, especially for the elderly population. In addition, we've taken our call center and are partnering with the YMCA to do wellness checks for seniors throughout the region, just to make sure that they have someone to call and talk to them. And a lot of these people have let us know that we're the only voice they've heard from in weeks. We're making sure they have access to food, medication, and all sorts of things to get them through this. And so we continue to look for ways that we can deliver the service we're here to deliver to our passengers, but also we kind of look at it as our job is to take people to the things they need in life. And since our population has been asked to isolate, we've really stepped up to try and take the things that they need to them at this time when they can't move. So we're continuing to do that. We're very thankful for the partnership we have with Sacramento Regional Transit and the funding through the stimulus we were able to access, and our other partners through this time. We are also the Consolidated Transportation Service Agency for Sacramento County, and so we're working closely with agencies such as Asian Community Center and other partners as they shift their modes. And so we're supporting Meals on Wheels and other programs to make sure that our social service partners survive this crisis and that their clients have the resources available here so that those agencies can continue to function and provide.
Wow, great. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Appreciate that. So with that rounds out our full panel of local and regional transit folks and others in our business community. I just wanted to, now we'll switch to Q&A, audience Q&A. I know there's been a few either comments and questions that have come up. If folks would send those questions via the chat function, and then it's specified to which speaker you want to address them to. Monica is going to read questions to the group, and I just will do a quick time check. It is 11:30, but we're going to just continue just for a few minutes more, certainly get the Q&A done, and then just a very quick wrap up. So thanks again, Monica.
Great, thank you. We do have one question, and I believe this will apply to Mike. We'll have you answer from a regional perspective, and then we can have Tiffani and Henry both answer. If the CARES Act is insufficient to make up the losses in revenues, what do you anticipate having to do to cut costs? So I'll repeat it one more time. If the CARES Act assistance is insufficient to make up the losses in revenues, what cuts do you anticipate having to do? Mike, can we start with you?
You know, that's a great question. And I think that's something that all of the transit agencies are thinking about and will be wrestling with over the months to come. I think in part it will be dependent upon which segments of the transit ridership come back the quickest. So if we see for some reason that commuters continue to telework after this event, then there will probably be we won't be increasing as many of our commuter offerings as maybe we had before. So from a local ridership perspective, a little like Tiffani mentioned, that their trips are down, but they're still spread out throughout the day. What we've noticed is that our trips are down across the board, but they're still spread out among all of our routes. So it's going to be a little bit harder to see if there's a particular route that can be reduced in service or cut. So it's something that we'll be wrestling with. I don't think we have all the answers right now, but we'll definitely be looking at that and kind of balancing it with the type of ridership that comes back.
Thank you, Mike. Tiffani, did you have anything to add as well?
Yes, so for us, Obviously, we're watching revenues. We are very thankful to the stimulus funding and other outlets that we've worked through, chamber partners to look at access to carry us through this time, as we not only operate our core service here in Sacramento, but we have offices actually across the country that we're trying to keep people employed in. And so for the short term, we do not see an impact to service through the transition. So our goal is to be able to keep the services there and then for Paratransit after the transition for our social service CTSA side. At this point, we've gotten really innovative and have addressed what that will look like. We are fortunate that part of the reason we got into the consulting business to teach other parts of the country how we do things in Sacramento is to generate a revenue stream, and we've been very lucky that those contracts remain in place, and they're in key areas of the country where we expect those contracts to stay, as they're in things like eligibility, which are legally required. So we do have those funding streams, but we're also identifying other places in the market where we can use our resources, such as our maintenance shop or other places where there may be need and demand where we could be available and be able to increase revenue to keep operations going.
Thank you, Tiffani. And Henry, can you, did you want to add as well?
Very quickly, we have been thinking about this, actually talking about this in the last 2 weeks, every day, how we can save, cost to avoid layoff or other, service cut stuff. But right now we're focusing on, business process improvement, try to, freeze all the non-essential hires and also, combine some functions together, just look inside to say how we can, save costs. And I just saw a question about Measure A, how the crisis affect Measure A. And the currently STA is trying to see the Measure A as economic recession stimulus package. Last night, Elgrove approved Measure A expenditure plan by 5-0. City of Sacramento approved that 2 weeks ago by 9-0, and 2 days ago, county board approved that by 4-1. So we think this is one more reason to push this measure to on the ballot to try to pass that. That will help the whole region, the jobs, the economic recovery, and public transit.
Thank you so much. We'll turn it back to Lucas with that.
Thanks so much, Monica. Thanks again, once again, to all of our speakers this morning. Really appreciate your participation and our partners, the Metro Chamber and Valley Vision and Greater Sacramento Economic Council. There's no question this time is, challenging, and that's really an understatement. Frankly, it's an unprecedented time in our society. And, so on behalf of the SACOG board and our staff, we really want to thank you for calling in. We are all in this together, there's no question. And everyone out here on this webinar, as well as, in the local governments, the business partners, the public, our riders, it's going to be an all hands on deck approach to make sure that transit survives. The federal stimulus dollars are certainly going to help, but not going to necessarily be enough to get us through this situation. We're going to have to rely upon, the riders coming back at some point. And so, on behalf of SACOG, though, we're doing our best to continue the agency work that we've started. And importantly, we are being nimble in responding to the COVID-19 crisis. And as the stay-at-home order continues, we're going to continue to work to provide, our region with timely and relevant information on the challenges and opportunities related to transportation, land use, and air quality. You can stay up to date on SACOG news. You can sign up for our once-a-month newsletter at sacog.org/get involved. And with that, I think our meeting comes to an end. And thanks so much for your quick response to our request. Thanks very much again. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all for participating. Thank you to our panelists. We are recording this webinar, and it will be posted by next week on SACOG's YouTube channel, as well as accessible through the SACOG website, www.sacog.org. Thank you so much.